Oh yes, baby! If you ask normal people, non-car people about the Aston Martin, their association with Aston Martin is usually a vintage now DB5, the iconic 007 James Bond car, and this, the modern car that basically single-handedly defined the modern design language of Aston Martin in general. And indeed, after designing the DB9, Ian Collum and Henrik Fisker laid out the foundation for the entire lineup of Aston Martin, and that is the Vantage, Rapide, and Vanquish. And of course, the most expensive and most beautiful sedan ever made, the Lagon de Taraf. You can clearly see the DB9's design language and the entire lineup of Aston Martin at a time. There's not a single angle from which this car doesn't look beautiful. In this video, we're going to talk the DB9 and highlight all of its pros and cons. And by the end of the video, you're going to find out why purchasing the DB9 could be not just your best life-changing decision, but also a great financial decision. The DB9 is the successor to DB7. The letters DB are the initials of David Brown, the owner of Aston Martin between 1947 and 1972. Although the DB9 succeeded the DB7, Aston Martin did not name the car DB8 due to fears that the name would suggest that it featured a V8 engine. The DB9, of course, has a V12. And reports indicated that Aston Martin held the belief that naming the car DB8 would suggest a progressive evolution, even though the DB9 was a completely new vehicle. It was built on completely new aluminum-intensive platform, and the same 5.9 V12 was thoroughly revised. Available both as a coupe and convertible, just like this one, which is called the Volante, it was way better than the DB7, thanks to a 50-50 weight distribution achieved by moving the engine back in the bay and fitting a rear-mounted transaxle. I borrowed this car from a local dealer here in Palm Springs area called Desert Auto Dealer, and the owner of this dealership, Avi, is a very kind and wonderful guy. Also, he has a wonderful inventory at his dealership, including this DB9. And if you have any interest in purchasing this DB9 or any other car that he has at his wonderful lot, then I will put the link to his dealership in the description under this video. And we're gonna start with highlighting the obvious, which we already did, but I want to highlight my personal favorite things about the exterior of this car. First off, how it ducktails from the trunk into this little spoiler. And then the clear taillights looks especially beautiful on the black car. And obviously, highlighting the design of the car, we cannot not highlight the iconic swan wing doors, because that's what Aston Martin is known for, and this is very distinguished to Aston Martin. And what that means, at any point when you open the door stays put and it looks a little upwards like a swan. And then going to the front of the car, the iconic grille that makes Aston Martin very distinguished among any other brand in the whole world. And then these beautiful headlights that looks like a very nice fine watch. To me, that's what I associate the front end of this car, which the fine watch association I will find and you will find throughout this car in multiple places. And of course, how can we not talk the powertrain in this car, because it is magnificent, it is silky. And before we go and experience this V12, again, let me highlight a couple points of this silky V12. By the way, first off, it is not 6.0, Aston Martin lying to us, like few other automakers. To be honest, it's actually true 5.9 V12, produces around 470 horsepower and 443 pound-feet of torque. And that might not sound super magnificent nowadays, but if you consider how much this car weighed on its new platform, which is around 3,800 pounds, those figures sound actually pretty good because the car is not that heavy. And then the output directed to the rear wheels via 6-speed automatic transmission. Aston Martin is one of the last bespoke automakers, and to realize that, all you have to do, just look inside. You can immediately see the highest level of hand finishing, unbelievable quality, and doesn't really exist in new cars nowadays. The cabin is timeless, absolutely gorgeous. As you open your cool swan wing door and look into the cabin of this beautiful car, you immediately see this aluminum plaque that says hand-built in England, which is very cool. Then enter it, touch the steering wheel, and it is magnificent. It feels heavy, it's the right size, feels great in your hand. And then you immediately stare at something even more beautiful, which is the gauge clusters. These gauges look like that fine watch that I was talking about a little earlier, and I think Aston Martin was going for it. And today, in 2025, these gauges look even more beautiful because everything is electrified and electronized today. These gauges age really well, and I think they're gonna look good 50 years from today as well. But then this waterfall shape dashboard flows into the center console, and it looks so beautiful. The finishes here, the stitches, everything held up really well from when this car came out 14-15 years ago now. And then Aston also thought of practicality. You have these buttons: suspension sport mode, the traction control off, and then there's this switch looking thing, but in reality, if you push, it pops up with the pen, Aston Martin branded pen. Aston Martin clearly knew their clientele at the time, and they knew that those entrepreneurs, business people, business owners, real estate moguls, they all needed a pen at any point of their driving experience, and Aston Martin took care of that. But then later, once you look at the car, you want to start it, you're immediately gonna see something that actually gonna disappoint you, and that would be, check this embarrassing thing out. Aston Martin didn't have enough money or effort or even people to develop their own navigation system and infotainment system, so they used to buy this cheap Garmin navigation system from early 2000s where you could find them everywhere around the US at any pit stop, any gas station. It looks so out of this place, it looks terrible. So you want that screen actually down at all times, but everything else, including those speakers, when you start the car, they rise up. It looks so magnificent. Brand new, this car might not have made sense. It was very expensive at around $200,000. But nowadays, you can find earlier year of the DB9 for around $35,000. And at that point, this car makes the best bargain among exotic cars. And if you consider how much attention and status this car can bring to your life, then this car makes even more sense, because by just having this car, it can bring you a lot of exciting opportunities your way. And that is literally the point of car hacking and why I love depreciation so much. And here's another cool and smart thing. Whenever you're done enjoying this car, you can sell it and get all of your money back, because at this point, this car not gonna lose any more value anymore. And somewhat surprisingly, it is pretty reliable. I see a lot of Astons with this powertrain, the V12, with a lot of miles. I'm talking 80, 90, 110, 120,000 miles, still running great and being around. Despite the perception that exotic car might not be reliable, these Astons with this V12 are pretty reliable. It truly is an enjoyable, smooth ride. Even with the transmission, yes, it's a 6-speed old-school automatic transmission, but it is not lurchy as the single clutch could be. It feels pretty smooth. It does, yes. It is silky indeed. This GT, it is not fast by any imagination. 0 to 60 with automatic, I believe it was around 4.7 seconds. But at the same time, this was never the point of DB9. It was never the point to go fast. The point was to go smooth with the V12, and indeed it does. And again, the steering wheel feels great. Looking in your gauge cluster feels awesome. Looking in your navigation system, however, feels awful, but that's fine. Everything else about this car is pretty much really great and flawless. And then I'm 6'3", and this is a Volante, the convertible version of the DB9. My hair is just slightly touching, but it is actually a little pleasant because the materials they use, this Alcantara, how do you say it? Anyway, it is very nice, and everything is just Such a nice place to be. This cockpit, it is magnificent, it is elegant, it is classy. Those Rice speakers looking at me so beautifully. This car is something. And I'm sitting in the traffic right now. But the sitting position is obviously typical for a two-door. At the same time, I feel somewhat imperious. Yes, imperious. Because I'm driving a cool British Aston Martin. As we're driving through the city, pretty busy here. Let's do this. Oh! This V12, as silky as and smooth as it could be, it still wants you to go full throttle and mess with you and give you the beautiful sounds, delicious sounds. Oh, good. Oh yes, baby. There she is. The DB9 is the perfect combination of a high class and performance, all in a wonderful GT. And today this car is even more appealing than what it was sold new because it was too expensive. And you can buy this car, enjoy it for a while, and then by the time you're done enjoying it, sell it and get all your money back. What a car it is to own for free. A pure bliss. And if you want to find out what other two-door sports car you can own for free, then check out this video here. Woo! Oh yes, baby!